We got too much sticking out here. Do it there, and then we'll run this out. Yeah, that's a good 45. Alright, let's run this. Probably not going to touch it yet. You can kind of see a dark spot. Look at that. I'm gonna go get the other valves, and we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get them all cleaned up. Alright, so I need to lap these in. I've started lapping these in. I've ground all the valve seats and ground all the valves. A little oily, but we just got to lap them in. Alright, been lapping the valves. Use a Sharpie, mark all around the valve, all around the seat, and then lap them a little bit, see what kind of contact pattern you're getting. And it's looking good. I've done coarse on all of them to get a good pattern, and once it looks like it's a good pattern, then I go over and hit them again with the fine compound just to kind of polish them up. And so these two need a little bit more with the fine, and this one I've not done with the fine yet. This one's got a good pattern on it. It's done. The exhaust, I still have to do the fine grid on it, and then that'll be done. This head I've not started on. I've ground the seats, but I've not lapped the valves in yet. The valves have been ground and they are ready to be lapped in. Just got a little bit of there. Ready to be lapped in, so we'll do that. We're gonna finish this up, and then we'll assemble the heads. Preface this by I am not a pro. I'm, just a guy doing heads. So, what I do, I've already ground the valves, ground the seats, lapped the valves, lapped the seats. What I did after that was pull all the valves out, spray all down in the valve guide and the valve seat and everywhere with brake clean, just to clean any grit out, any metal shavings, any grit, anything. Sprayed the valves down real good. Do that for all of them. And then I spray the valve guide and valve seat and pretty much everything in the valve with WD-40. It prevents flash rust. It gives it a little bit of lubricant. And then put all the valves in. And then I spray the stems with WD-40. Not a sponsor, but it's about the best thing I know to prevent flash rust. Now, of course, the valves aren't going to flash rust, but and the seats aren't. But anything else could, and it's also a good lubricant for putting on your valve stem seals. You don't want to rip them or anything. So I've already started one. What I normally do is just slip them all on there. And these are just Vortec valve stem seals. And I did cover what I'm doing with these heads in another video. We are doing low buck Vortex. I've got $100 into these heads. It's full valve guide, or full valve job, everything. Well, except for valve guides, because valve guides are in good shape. Alright, so once you've got them started, like I said, I lubricated all this. This is just a 1/2 inch socket. You can take that, just take a little hammer. You'll hear the noise when it kind of bottoms out. Sounds different. Valve guides on, or valve seals on. And we're going to take our B-Hot GM Performance springs that we bought. And you can throw all these on there. We're just going to throw them one at a time. Because some of them kind of stick on there, some of them don't. Push all of our valves back on. And this is our spring compressor that we have. You're going to need to put the retainer on. And what I like to do with the retainers is I take some wheel bearing grease, and that one is cut out. Got another one over here. And I put a dab of wheel bearing grease on the retainer. What that does, holds it in place. I also have used transmission assembly lube. That really gooey paste stuff. It's thicker than wheel bearing grease, but we've got this, so we're going to use it. Now, this is the spring compressor I have. This thing is probably older than I am. Actually, I know it is. This was my grandfather's. It has been welded up. It has been through a lot, but it works. And I've already got it pre-adjusted. This is going to sit on the face of the valve. You're going to put this around the retainer, and then you're going to do this, and it's going to push the spring down. I think they still make this style spring compressor, and in my opinion, this is probably one of the better styles. There may be something better than this, but Definitely, to me, one of the better ones. Now, once you get it down, again, put more wheel bearing grease right there. That's going to hold the keeper on. So I'm using the stock Vortec keepers, just like these. And you're going to set those down in that ridge, that groove in the valve. And then you're kind of going to have to center this thing up, because it's a little off-centered. So center it up and then release it. And there you go. Now, I'm going to do that to all of them. And then, once I do that, I'm going to go through and I'll hit each one with a rubber mallet a couple times. And, well, you're zoomed in still. But I'm going to hit the valve stem with a rubber mallet a few times all the way down. And that's just to make sure that all the keepers are fully seated and they're not going to pop out. So I'm going to go do that real quick. You've already seen me do the other head in time lapse, and I'm not going to film doing the rest of this head because I already did the other one. I'll show you when I'm done. Yeah, I've got the back of the cylinder head right here propped up with the empty brake cleaner can. And we're just going to go through, and that's just to keep from, when I hit the valve, it hitting the workbench. So we're going to go through. We've got all these in there, and we just want to hit them. You hear the valve went down, pop back up. Play them like a musical instrument. And all we're doing there is to make sure that the keeper is fully seated and we're not going to end up with a keeper coming loose and dropping a valve. So we are done. Now, total investment into these heads, let's recap what we did to them. These things were in rough shape. The valves were in rough shape. I did not get them tested for cracks. I did the best testing that I could do. You know, I filled in the ports with vinegar because they were so rusty, and you know, we didn't have any leakage as far as that we could tell in anywhere while I was cleaning these things up and just inspecting them very good. That doesn't mean they're not cracks. We really should have them magnafluxed, but I didn't. I did check them for flatness. They are in good shape. Took my flat bar, ground bar, and checked them all over. They are flat. They're not warped or anything. And like I said, the valves were in really bad shape. We ground the valves. I've got a valve grinding machine. I had to get that thing working, and it had been used in over 30 years. Got it working. Ground the valves. I ground the valve seats. We then lapped the valves in. We put these GM Performance Beehive springs, comp cams retainers. The GM Performance springs are 124-99224. That's the part number. They are, I would recommend getting the actual GM Performance, not any aftermarkets. These are new takeoffs. So in order to pair a GM Performance heads, and they upgraded the valve springs. Works great for me because they sold these cheap, and there's nothing wrong with them. They've got 0 miles on them. They're cheaper than buying. It was cheaper than buying them brand new, and they are brand new. So got those. These are comp cam retainers, 787-11 or 787-16, and we are using the stock Vortec umbrella seals, valve seals, and the stock Vortec keepers. I do not have part numbers for those, but if you look up just 96 to 99, 350 Vortec, whatever part number it gives you, that should be right. And that's it. That's all we were doing to these heads. The money I have into them are valve springs and retainers. That's it. They've got a valve job. The valve guides were in great shape. I checked them. I don't know how many miles are on this thing. No idea. But we're going to run them. To me, if you're going to run Vortecs, you can't get caught up in spending a ton of money into them, because by the time you do that, you could buy a set of aluminum cylinder heads. So that's why I didn't get these checked. You know, that just adds to the cost. I did the best checking I could, and you know, I made sure they were flat. There was no signs on this engine that there was anything wrong with it, that it was burning water or anything, or blown head gasket, nothing when I tore it down. So I believe these are good cylinder heads. This engine looks like it had been recently rebuilt. If it wasn't for the water sitting in this thing, I wouldn't have had to do a valve job on it. But since water had sat in this engine, it left pits in the valve seats and the valve in the surface of the valve. So had to fix that. So we did the valve job, and then we want to run a larger camshaft than stock, basically a lot larger than 420 lift or 450. I can't remember what the Vortex max lift is, but we're going to exceed that. Little sneak peek. That's what we're going to be running. So we had to do something to address, or to give us some more lift, or allow us to run more lift. So that's it. Hopefully this helps you out if you're going to run Vortex. If you've got to put a lot of money into them, just start looking at aftermarket aluminum heads. You will probably find that you can do that cheaper, or for just a little bit more, and you'll have better heads. So I stuck with budget, and if I have any problems with these heads, I'm going to put some aluminum heads on this thing and continue on. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.